can never do it like I. When you see man pull up and slide, man stepped in a room with legends, Rio and Steve, you know it's a vibe. Check the podcast, what you wanna know? Don't ask me, go and ask Joe. If you're talking Premier League, he's on the front line and I gotta go. It's a vibe with five, and you already know what it is. It's a vibe with five, and you already know what it is. Vibe with five, and you already know what it is. It's a vibe with five, and you already know this.
Right, and welcome back to Vibe with Five. It's me, it's Joel, it's Farah, and it's Joel's comedy-sized trophy. I don't know what's the joke here.
It's not a joke, bro. This is the trophy that you're going to see me carrying every single place I go once we win the league. I'm talking on holidays. I'm talking to the gym. I'm talking to the studio. You know,
you realise you've got to go and play City very, very soon at the Etihad.
Doesn't matter. I have faith in my team. You know, remember earlier on in the season, when it comes to October, you're going to see. When it comes to November, you're going to see. Can they carry on after the World Cup? Steve,
you know you've phoned in every other competition to try and do this, so you better do it.
Yeah, we will. Don't worry about it. We will.
And if you don't? Because you've had it in your hands yesterday and decided to toss it off.
I don't allow negativity, but let's address the people as to why Rio ain't here, Steve. Can you let them know, please?
I have no idea why he's not here.
Well, he's traveling at the moment, so he sends his massive apologies. He has sent us a video, obviously, but it's family time. He's coming back, so yeah. Thank you very much, Rio, for sending us the video anyway. But yeah, let's get it cracking, Steve. Where do you want to start? Farah?
There's only one place to start. Come on, Anfield yesterday. I guess that's the only place you can start.
Yeah. Did you watch the game, Farah?
Of course I did.
What did you think?
You know what? Arsenal was in control of the game. To go to Anfield and control the game, especially the first half, the way they did, I'm like, wow, this league's theirs. Like, I thought they took full control. They looked like a team that played like champions in that first, I'm going to say 43 minutes, because from when you conceded in the second half, I wouldn't say it fell apart. I felt like you was winning the game. I think Liverpool took control of the second half. But yeah, you lot played that first 43 minutes like champions. I'm sitting there with Arsenal fans, my mates, going, mate, I nearly tweeted. You know what? I'm so happy I didn't tweet. I was about to tweet and go, mate, Arsenal are playing like champions already. And I'm so glad I didn't, because the minute I was about to do it, they conceded within 5 minutes of that. So I would have got absolutely hammered. But you know what? I actually think a point at Anfield, let's not forget, Liverpool don't lose at home. They don't lose at home. So I think a point away is a good point.
For me, it is a good point, because I would have taken it before the start of the game. There's loads of evidence around me saying that I would take a draw. Obviously, when you're 2-0 up, it doesn't... You right there, Steve?
Magic me, mate.
Okay. Obviously, when you're 2-0 up, it doesn't feel great to concede two. But I think it changed when Xhaka like hyped up the crowd a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like when he had the incident with Trent, for me, I just thought, no, we've seen this before. I remember when Arteta went against Klopp last time. Do you remember? It just wasn't a great move. Now, like what Roy Keane said, it wasn't the end all be all, but at the same time, you kind of gave the crowd the fire they needed in their bellies. And I really wish he didn't do that. And but yeah, as far as I'm concerned, second half, Liverpool came out and they were on form, man. It felt like pressure. Like I was just sitting there the whole day. I was thinking, we haven't had the ball. At one point, the stats said 70-30. And I thought to myself, it feels like more here. It feels like Liverpool have had the ball like 90% of the time. It was mad. Unfortunately, second half, I thought some of our players got tired. You could see it. Like Saka wasn't his usual self, especially in the second half. You can see Zinchenko after he, got nuts a little bit there. You can see he was just tired. Like, you're right there, Farah? He was just tired.
Naughty from Trent. I mean, for the first goal, Trent, was it? No, actually, the second one, Jesus' goal, Trent got exposed. He kind of made up for it with that little Megs in it. Yeah, the little dink to the back post. But
yeah, it was.
You know what? There was so much. If you think about it, right? Arsenal haven't won this since 2012, right? So all them years they go to Anfield, they don't win. They've got those pressures of trying to break that psychological factor around that, right? Also, Liverpool don't lose at home. Also, the pressures of everybody every week are going, when are Arsenal going to buckle? When are they going to buckle? These players hear that and they're trying to keep it tight inside, like they're trying to stay together. People aren't saying that again about Manchester City. So those pressures around winning the league for Manchester City aren't there in every game. They know what they've got to do, right? Arsenal have even bigger pressures because people are waiting for them to fail. Man City have been there before, on the tails of Liverpool, and them two, you know, going at it, Chelsea, City, over the years. Arsenal haven't. So there's so much more pressures for Arsenal currently to try and win this league than any other team in history. That's what I believe.
You bottled top 4 last season as well.
It's people like Steve. It's people like Steve that are sitting there with those little.
I'm sorry, you don't like the facts.
You know,
no, it's going to be difficult. I think for sure. Look, they've got. I don't even think Liverpool was the game where I think Arsenal are going to be tested. I think City away, Chelsea come at home in between that, then Newcastle away, and Newcastle fighting for 4th, and then you've got Brighton who want Europe. So I think that them 4 fixtures are going to be telling for Arsenal, and I think if they can get out of that, you know, with only dropping 3 points, then they go on to win the league, don't they?
Yeah, no.
If they get through that, they'll deserve to win the league.
Of course they would. And I think they performed unbelievably this year.
Yeah.
And that's horrible. You know what? That's difficult to say for a Chelsea fan. I hate the fact they're doing so well. But look, I love football. And when I watch Arsenal, I've watched them a lot in Europe. I've done some work with BT, and they have been a joy to watch. The way they play, the way Arteta has changed that team, they are, for a neutral, they are a joy to watch. Difficult to say and admit as a Chelsea fan. But look, football's football, right? And they're performing well. If they win it, then they deserve it.
But the XG from yesterday, it was a bigger kick-in than United got against them when we got beat 7-0.
Steve, no one cares, mate. No one cares. XG's bigger than when we got beat 7. Really, that's a bad take.
It's a measurement of how the game went. It's a very accurate measure of how the game went.
That, because at the end of the day, it's about putting the ball in the net, and they put it past you 7 times. Anyway, as I'm saying, when you look at City's fixtures,
dismiss it like that. This is how you analyze football.
When you look at City's fixtures, before I go back and giving Arsenal the praise, because there's a lot of praise that's deserved, especially Aaron Ramsdale. You are the one, my friend. Obviously, City got Bayern next. Then in between that, they've got Leicester, and then they've got Bayern again. So I'm just hoping that it's those games, because then after that, they got Sheffield United in the FA Cup. Then they've got Brighton, and then they've got us. So it's like, well, Brighton's postponed actually, but it's like all these little games in between. I'm hoping the Champions League and the FA Cup slows them down. I know you're with me here, Farah. I know. You know
what? The City are used to this. They're used to this. They're used to going to the end of most competitions. Their squad, you know, the way Arteta doesn't really rotate his squad and hasn't done this season in the league. And Pep, we've seen at City over the years, always rotating his squad in Cup, in Champions League, and in the league. So I think in terms of the rotation and squad depth they have, I don't think that becomes a problem for them. And who they're playing. You're saying Leicester between Bayern, that's probably a buy for them in terms of 3 points.
I mean, you never know. Leicester, you know.
You never know. They're going to lose at home.
In business, you never know.
Marsh turns him down. He doesn't even want to go there. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. So, yeah, exactly. With Jesse there, you never know, of course. And like I'm saying, you got the Arsenal game as well, which I think there's listen, we could go out there and win it, you know. We could.
Yeah, you could lose it, and you've phoned in every other competition to try and focus on the league. And I swear to God, if you don't, you're not going to be able to sleep this summer.
Really?
Because I'm going to carry that trophy around.
Odegaard. We started really good. The first 40 minutes before they scored, we controlled the game. After their goal, the game changed, and we didn't manage to keep the ball, which we've said. They created a lot of chances. Aaron Ramsdale was very good back there, and he saved us. Frustrated, but we took the point, and we move on. Arteta on Ramsdale, he said he was superb again today. You need your goalkeeper at Anfield. It's a shame after we started well. The big lesson is in the first half that they came here and played with that personality. And Jurgen Klopp finally said, I'm caught in between being happy and not. I have no problems with drawing. Arsenal were good, but they could and should have lost this game. The point for them is better. So it kind of backs what I'm saying, really, innit? Like, obviously, we wanted to take the 3 points, but same time, I'll take the point. I'll take it, man. I really will take it.
You got to analyse the game, though. Why was Arsenal dominant in the first half? Because they decided that Trent was going to have like a free roll at right back. He kept moving into midfield. He was all over the place. As soon as they changed that in the second half, because they did, Liverpool took control of the game. So you should have had the game out of sight while Trent was basically off the pitch and not involved in the game at all.
I agree. But there was also a chance to go ahead, you know, Steve. There was one pass that should have been played to Bukayo Saka. I don't know if you saw, Farah. And it was a bad pass from Martinelli. Saka was practically through on goal. We got him on the counter. And I just thought, what are you doing? There was a lot of like sloppy passes. you know, you could tell that the players were tired. And it goes back to what you're saying, because we don't rotate our squad enough. Flipping Strongbones, Godchild, Little Chilly, you know, Saka, he's played X amount of minutes, X amount of games, and you can see it's wearing a toll on him, man. And he was nowhere to be found in the second half. Not digging him out. I'm just saying that's an example of what we saw, you know. And I think we should have taken off. We should have taken off Zinchenko a little bit earlier anyway, because we know what he gets like when he's tired. We should have bought on Tierney.
But also, he's so attack-minded. It's like, and I think I heard someone saying about it in these latter games that are coming up. Do you need, you know, Tierney who's more defense-minded, probably more, you know, stability at the back, especially when you go ahead in these games? Like, you're right. Should he have come off a little bit earlier? Because he is. Your game, when he plays, you don't play different. You play like with a full midfield. He goes and helps and overloads inside there. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just feel like you're a little bit exposed when he plays against top teams, because when you've got the ball in control, you look great. But as you say, the second half, when you haven't, he doesn't look great defensively. So in possession, I think he gives you a different dimension for sure. But as you say, when you lose that control of the game and possession, which you did in the second half, you need to look at that and do it early.
It's like Trent just walked past him. I know it was a nuts, but he just walked past him. And obviously, Firmino as well.
Oh, what a player, man. What a baller. How is he like? I can't believe they ain't got a new contract for him. I can't believe he hasn't played as many minutes as he should have, especially in the moments they've been struggling. I don't get it for Liverpool. I really don't get it. It literally suits their style.
Yeah. No, when he came on, I was scared.
Getting beyond, and obviously Gakpo now can do that, and Jota being back. I'm just like, I don't understand. Yeah. They need a vocal point there that likes to drop in to allow those runners beyond. I can't understand.
Here's what happened. They got called the greatest Liverpool team in history last summer, which they did. Jamie Carragher and Graham Souness both said, not only is this like the greatest Liverpool team of Jurgen Klopp's era, but it might be the greatest Liverpool team in history. Then they spent a couple of $100 million buying a right load of new players for it, and now they're looking like they might struggle to finish inside the top 10. That's what happened.
Yeah. No, it's been, there's a lot of, I think time tells the story, isn't it? Like, people talk about the test of time, and I think Virgil van Dijk, who has been fantastic for them, you know, since he's been there. And I don't know, in the last...
this season, you can already see it, Giles. You know what I was going to say? You know what annoys me about that? Is that you never hear anybody cussing him. You never hear pundits literally expose him. You hear every week for Liverpool, Trent gets absolutely ripped. And don't get me wrong, rightly so at times. I think he plays too advanced for Liverpool and gets exposed defensively. This is Trent. But Van Dijk yesterday, for Jesus' goal, how they didn't rip into him for his positioning as a centre-half. There was one player in the box to mark. That was Jesus, right? Konate is now taken out of position because his Trent's positioning to start wasn't great. But already you could see Trent was recovering Konate's position. How, for the life of me, Van Dijk doesn't think to pick up Jesus, there's no danger at the front post. There's one player in the box. And then you can see Robertson sprinting to try and make up ground. He should have just picked him up. Martinelli is going nowhere. He's going nowhere. He's already got Konate up on him, right? So they're going to try and stop the cross, which they didn't. But then he had Trent inside recovering that run. So there was no other player there. How is Van Dijk not picked up? He don't like to defend. He only likes to defend.
I need to address Jamie Carragher.
But he doesn't like to defend Van Dijk. He just plays with the ball. The modern day centre-half, they say. But everybody wants to put him in the top 5 all-time Premier League centre-halves. No way.
Yeah, he's not even close to being the best Dutch centre-half.
Not even in the top 10 for me.
Jamie Carragher, I think this is this morning. Jamie Carragher, Virgil van Dijk is far better than Vidic, who was a top centre-back. But have you forgotten his performances against Torres? It's all right, I've got the receipts. Torres scored 3 goals in 15 games against Vidic, right? 3 in 15. Marcus Rashford has got 6 in 13 against Van Dijk. Are we prepared to have a conversation saying that Rashford owns Van Dijk? Because I'm not, right? So how is 3 in 15? Do you remember? Like, there was one game where he got sent off and he got his arse handed to him. That was it. And everyone just extrapolates that into every single time that they played each other. It's all bollocks, right? He also says, Rio and JT had poor seasons in their career, like all players. Van Dijk is having one now. Well, what about last season? Like, he had probably 2 or 3 very, very, very good seasons, top seasons. But he's been carried on that reputation since then. Then he says, no centre-back in the Premier League era has ever had Van Dijk's impact on a team. Yapstam wants a word.
Do you know what it is, Steve? I think it's because, again, Liverpool as a team, they progressed so far last season. Let's not forget they were in the Champions League final. They won the FA Cup, you know, for like they did pretty all right. And I think since Virgil's injury, I'm not saying that's the only excuse, but he hasn't quite been the same. And I don't know if we'll ever see him to the levels he was, you know, for the 2-3 seasons he played. And
but even in his good season, Joe, he was good with the ball. He never got exposed defensively because Liverpool was such a front foot, high pressing team from the front. So rarely did we ever see, and that's the same with Trent, rarely did we ever see any of their back line really get exposed defensively 1v1 and have to pick up and go on and show us how you have to move your feet and get in the right position. They never have to. Teams don't set up with 2 attackers. So he never has to think about that option. So he's always playing with the ball. And he's very good with the ball. He's very good.
He was you can't go on like he couldn't defend. I'm not saying that's what you're saying.
I'm just saying he hasn't actually exposed defensively.
But that's the same with Cancelo as well. You know, we saw it earlier on this season, like exposed a little bit, you know, before he got the move and that. Like some of these players, they benefited a lot playing with teams that had the ball. And again, I think Zinchenko is one of them as well. You know what I mean? You can't really question his defending because you've never really seen him defend before. And I don't think that's his best attribute. I think Kieran Tierney's better than him at that. But hey ho, does that mean
Rio's also had a chat about this, so let's throw that in right here.
I mean, Liverpool's defending. I don't know what I'm seeing at the moment. I can't get my head right. Van Dijk has been the best defender in the world, arguably, for the last couple of years. He looks a shadow of himself. He's lost form, obviously. He said that in a post after the game, personally and collectively, we've lost form. Not playing the way we normally would, and that's fine, that's fair. Trent, I've just got to get back to basics. The way you get yourself out of ruts like that is to just get back to basics. I see Jamie Carragher tweeted something about Van Dijk's better than Vidic. I don't know why, or why that was said or whatever. But, and he mentioned Torres. I think Torres scored 3 goals in 15 games against Vidic. I think it's a bit of a myth. I think he had a couple of dodgy moments in those games and he got sent off a couple of times, but that's kind of been amplified into saying that he got tortured every time it played against Torres, which wasn't the case. 3 goals in 15 games. Rashford's, I think, got 6 in 13 games against Liverpool. Does that mean he's tortured Van Dijk? And Van Dijk can't handle him? Because if that's what you're saying about we're using the same methodology we're using for Vidic, with the way Rashford's scoring goals against, I think it's just under 1 in 2 games, 1 every 2 games he scores against Liverpool. I don't know why Vidic's name was thrown in there. Because people, I think, are hammering Virgil van Dijk about his performances of late this season. He's had a bit of an off season, which he has, and I think he'd admit that. It's difficult. I don't know, but it's mad. It's prime time as well. He's prime time. The problem is he had a big injury, and that injury was one of the things we all said, can he come back from an injury? Next season's going to be the telling one. He's had this season to get himself fit and get himself up to speed. He's already got again, and I think as players, you've got to just go back to basics. I think Trent's in that position now. What Trent had for a while in 3 or 4 years was their team was on fire. He was on fire. So wingers weren't getting the ball without being under huge pressure, probably being starved of the ball a little bit. And they were sitting there going, right, I've got to do something immediately. Getting no rhythm in their game terms. It's a bit easier when it's like that. You can go and you can engage those players quicker. But also those players don't engage you with a lack of respect. They end up thinking, I've got to respect Trent, what he's doing the other way. And I think that's changed a little bit this season based on the team performances and his own personal performances in that. And I'm seeing players now that I think a year or 2 ago wouldn't even face Trent up. But they're now turning, face him and going, right, I want to give you a bit now. And he has to spin that around and change that. Because as a defender, you get money in the bank and by performances, not just individually, but your team being dominant and on the front foot and being aggressive. So teams coming and individual coming against you a little bit apprehensive, a little bit didgy, a little bit scared. These teams ain't scared of Liverpool right now, and they ain't scared of the individuals in that team either. So they're going to be asked different questions now, and they're going to be asked, can you defend against me? Can you go 1v1? And I want to turn and face you every time I get the ball if you ain't right up against me. And if you allow me to turn, I'm going to go past you. And that's a very different approach to what Trent's been seeing for the previous 3 or 4 years. So it's very difficult, and he's got to adjust now. And I think if I'm Trent, I was a young player who was recognised for being better on the ball than defending in my younger days. Trent's like that. Trent on the ball, you can't talk to him. Ridiculous output. We saw the nutmeg on Zinchenko, popped it through and deliver, assist. We know that with Trent, one of the best in the game at that. But you've got to go back to basics in these times of need, when things aren't going well, when confidence is low, when other people are smelling blood around you and thinking you're ready for the taking, you're ripe. That's when you've got to go into the game. When you're not called a defender first defender, you have to start thinking before the game, I'm a defender, what do I need to do against that attacking player now? My direct competition today is that winger. He likes to get behind, he likes to do this. Start visualising what that player likes to do and visualise yourself tackling him first, getting him first, winning your duels, winning your header, getting the ball and getting in 1v1 and winning, coming out with the ball the other side, running into the channel, running over your head when the ball's played over your head. Don't think about the ball. Trent doesn't need to think about or prepare himself with the ball because he's that good. That's how I felt. On the ball just came naturally. Defending is what you've got to think about. You go into the game with a mindset, I'm going to defend first. You'll get your defensive stuff right, which builds confidence for yourself, but also your teammates. So I think that's where Trent is now. He needs to start reconfiguring his mind and mindset and his approach to games to give himself the best chance. Because there's no doubt Trent's ability is ridiculous. I was just thinking, I'm not going to sit here. I don't go with people saying that he's become a bad player and he's rubbish and he's this. I'm not having that. I just think it's a mindset thing. Approach the game differently, you'll see better results. Simple as. But yeah, guys, listen, it's been a great few days of getting my energy back up. But boy, I'm ready to get back into it, man. Listen, have a good show, guys. Enjoy it. Frank Lampard's back in the hot seat. Didn't get the win that he wanted at the weekend, but I'm hoping and praying that he gets himself back up to speed and puts himself in a good position by the end of the season. I know Steve won't be happy with that. I know you won't be happy, Steve, but that's my pal. And I'm going to back him. But if he does need to be told that he needs to be gone, I'll be first to do that as well. But I'll give him a little bit of time, but I'll say what needs to be said, like I've done with Ollie. Do you know what I mean? Give him the contract. Became a meme. But when it was time to go, you've got to be honest enough to say it. Simple as. But anyway, guys, listen. Take it easy. Have a good show without me. Won't be the same, I know that. But enjoy.
Steve, so does that mean that the stats, well, I say stats, but this saying that Torres ripped Rio and Vidic, are we saying it doesn't exist, or are you just like covering up as United? Like what? Let me know, because
it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Torres at Liverpool was excellent, and that Liverpool team was very, very good. I think it was the Liverpool team that took it to come in second behind us. But saying that, look, if he exposed Vidic after scoring 3 in 15 games against us, and I don't think they even won that many of those games, by the way. And you got to remember, this is when Sir Alex Ferguson used to ask him to play 1v1 on the halfway line against a player with that sort of pace. He's going to expose a lot of people doing that. If he's exposed Vidic, which he hasn't, then Marcus Rashford literally owns Trent. You know, there's stuff that Marcus has done to Trent he's going to have to tell a counsellor about. So I just think the way Liverpool are protected in the media, can you ever imagine a United pundit coming out the way Jamie Carragher has just done there and it just being sort of like accepted? It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen with any other club, actually. Do you ever see a Chelsea pundit coming out and saying similar things? Or do you ever see Thierry Henry coming out and defending Arsenal to that sort of level? You don't see it. Liverpool are the only club that are allowed to be unbiased fans when they're employed as pundits. Like no other team allows it.
I agree, but then sometimes there's other instances. For example, Roy Keane on Robertson being elbowed was biased. Do you know what I mean? Like, and don't get me wrong. Yeah, like he's talking about him.
I think you find Roy Keane says exactly the same sort of stuff.
No, he's being a big baby. You can't say that. You can't say he's being a big baby. right?
Why?
Because he's not being a big baby. End of the day, if Mitrovic is out here getting 8-match bans and stuff like that, yeah, then there should be some sort of repercussion on the linesman or whoever the heck. You can't be out here elbowing players. Are you mad?
If you're going to play it by the same rule as what Mitrovic got done for, Mitrovic got done for touching the referee. Yeah. Robertson touched the linesman, hence why he
no.
Well,
it's a
I don't think he
different
accepts
touch,
the linesman elbowing him. Can I finish? Right? It doesn't mean that the linesman should be allowed to elbow him, but you got to think that the linesman's not expecting any sort of contact. So if he's going to move him away, accidentally caught him, he's not gone out to elbow him, has he? Is that what you're saying? Are you saying that he's gone out to elbow him?
Steve shouldn't be doing.
If you're going to apply the same rules that happened with Mitrovic, do not touch the referee, do not touch the linesman. I'm not defending the linesman for elbowing him, but you instigate it by touching him. Don't fucking touch him. Simple.
Sounds like you are. And on top of that, Keno's here going, oh, he's being a big baby. No, of course he's not going to be happy. Can't call him a big baby. Of course he's not.
He was being a baby before the incident. That's what he was talking about. Not the fact that he got elbowed and was moaning about it.
He said he's moaning
about the fact that he's getting up all around the linesman at half time. I think he said get in the tunnel and get on with the game.
We've seen players do that. That happens on a weekly basis. Can't turn around all of a sudden and be like, oh yeah, he shouldn't be that. Everyone does it. So there's no excuse for the.
Roy Keane was right.
None.
Free Keane. He was absolutely bang on.
Talk about biasness now, innit? Biasness. Before we move on, Farah, I'm going to ask, where do you think Arsenal will finish? Do you reckon we still win the league or we come second?
Do you know what? I've said all along. I've said all along at the beginning of the season, I chose Liverpool to win the league. So obviously, I haven't said it all along. But since this has been going, since Arsenal found this form, and it's between them and City, I actually thought City were going to do it just because they've been there before. The pressures, the fact that their squad, they use their players more than what Arsenal do. I thought at some point Arsenal would fatigue. They have shown otherwise. I think Arsenal have shown otherwise. So it's difficult to pick. Like, of course, I think neutral fans want it to be different. They want Arsenal to win for that reason. They don't want it to be the same. They don't want City to win every year. But I don't know. I think City have more in them to go on and win it. I don't know. Them 4 games I mentioned earlier, I think they're going to be telling for Arsenal for sure. But I certainly think that they have the players. If they can, as you said, they just seemed tired yesterday. And then it worries me, them 4 games on the bounce, because 3 of them in the space of I think 10 days, are they?
But do you see us winning the league? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. Steve?
What?
Where do you see Arsenal winning the league this season, or do you reckon City have got it now?
It's going to be very close. I think it's going to be very, very close. I think a lot of it is, hardly the greatest insight the world's ever seen here, but a lot of it's going to hinge on that game at the Etihad. I think if you go there and beat them, the psychological impact of that could be enough. But I think you're equally capable of folding as well, whether you want to admit that or not. I think you are. You've gambled everything on being able to do this because you've not turned up in the rest of the cups, and we saw Jose do this when he was at United. He could have finished top 4, decided he wanted to try and win the Europa League to get into the Champions League, and managed to pull it off. So it can be done. It's a risk though, and you've gloated about it for so long, and the Arsenal fan base has been stroking themselves so long about this. All I keep saying is you better hope you win it, because it's going to be horrendous for you if you don't. And the other thing is as well, if you don't win it this season, I think it could be a long time before you do win it, because I do not think you'll be anywhere near the top 2 next year. Once you be expected to, you'll have the expectation of what's happened this season, and people will have a bit more knowledge about how you play and how you're effective. That's going to be harder for you. People aren't going to treat you as lightly as they did this season. And then you're going to have Champions League and the expectation of Arsenal fans. And I've seen this with United. We came 2nd and 3rd and actually miles off, but the expectation went up because we signed Sancho, Ronaldo, and Varane. Everyone's like, right, title challenge now. That's what's expected. And when it doesn't happen, it can turn quick. So if you sign a couple of players, even if you come 2nd this season, the expectation next year will be to challenge again, and you might not be up to it.
Well, that's a lovely speech, but we all know what I think. just stay tuned. Vibe with Five. We just know. Honestly, you will see me at the parade celebrating.
No, Joe. For your sake, I hope that you do win it. Honestly, because how are you going to even enter the office or the studio ever again?
You don't need to worry about all of that, Farah, because we're winning it.
I'm not worried. All
right. Let's move it on to Man United beating Everton 2-0. Goals from Scott McTominay, the goal machine, and Martial as well coming back. Steve, you obviously watched this game. Great bounce back, isn't it, after the Newcastle defeat, right?
Yeah, we looked really leggy, and the attitude and application was all over the place against Newcastle. I thought it was going to be a lot harder game. 2-0 properly flatters Everton. It was nowhere near a 2-0 game. United have got to be so much better with our finishing than we were. Perhaps highlights the need for a striker that we've got. But I was surprised that Everton came out and was so open. You think Sean Dyche coming to Old Trafford, I've seen this film before, I know how this is going to go down. And he didn't go down like that. It was really, really end-to-end. They had a high line. When have you ever seen Sean Dyche play a high line before? He tried to press us in our half, tried to have a high line, and we were just popping it over the top for the pace and getting in time and time again. Sancho had a brilliant game.
Chances.
Yeah, Sancho was creating chances like you bet me couldn't. Anthony had a ton of shots. Rashford had a ton of shots. Both of them should have been better with their finishing. Nice positive sort of result, really, for the return of Casemiro. Nice to see Eriksen back in the United shirt. Bruno had an absolute, 10 out of 10 of a game. Really excited to see what those three can produce as a midfield if we get to play them together before the end of the season.
Yeah, I know we're sticking on this game, but I also forgot to mention you grinded a result as well against Brentford, which was really important with Rashford showing that, he's, at one point I thought, is he going to have a bit of a dip in the season? But, he got back on it really. But yeah, back to the Everton game. You look solid, man. It was a bit of a shame. I thought United were going to start crumbling to the end of the season, but I think top 4 is pretty much secure now.
I don't think so. I think United have got so many rough games coming up. We're still in Europa League. We're still in the FA Cup, unlike you lot. We're still fighting on all them different fronts. And we've got an over-reliance on Marcus Rashford for goals, and I don't know the extent of his injury yet. I think that saying that we're shooing for top 4, not for sure. You don't know what sort of impact a new manager is going to have at Spurs. Newcastle have only got that one thing to play for, and it's a massive achievement for them to do it. So, finishing top 4 for United is kind of expected, regardless of where we've been in recent years. But finishing top 4 for Newcastle is almost like winning a trophy. That's going to be celebrated that way if in Newcastle, if they do get that. So I don't think you can say United are definitely going to finish in the top 4. I think we should. I think we're more than capable of doing so, but I think saying that we definitely will is a little bit giddy at the moment. It's still a hell of a lot of football to play, and it's still a hell of a lot of points that we could drop. We've put together a decent run of wins lately, but it's no certainty, mate.
I just think you're too strong to not do so. And what you're saying doesn't mean what you're saying is wrong. I just think, especially with the return of Martial, I think that's key, man. Because
look at the teams they're playing. They've got to play Spurs still, don't they? Brighton, Villa. So teams around them still that are fighting for Europe. With still winning Europe for themselves. There's I don't know. And then they've obviously got teams that are fighting to stay up. They've still got Bournemouth. Who else have they got down the bottom?
Yeah, but it's easy to say that.
I think they win. I think they're all winnable games for United.
Yeah.
We've seen their away form. Not been great. They
away form's worrying.
Sorry?
Away form is worrying.
You go away to Tottenham and Brighton.
I think you can more than capable of getting.
West Ham were fighting. So I don't know. It's just they got a West Ham. They should win these games.
More than capable of, again, beating Brighton away. I don't see United losing them. Maybe a draw at best, but for Brighton. But no, I think United have got this in the bag, man. They do. They should do. Steve, Scott McTominay. 2 shots, 1 shot on target, 1 goal, 88 pass accuracy, 2 dribbles, 1, 4 aerials, 1, 2 successful tackles. He's now scored 5 goals in 5 appearances for club and country. So they thought,
all right, yeah, but 4 of them came in 2 games for country.
Yeah, I know.
Let's put some perspective and context onto this little stat. Right, Bruno had 100 and some passes, 86 out of 100 passes, something like that. Absolutely ran the show. United bypassed our midfield. Sabitzer and McTominay, off the top of my head, had somewhere in the region of like 23, 25 passes each. So we didn't really play through midfield. Defensively, I thought Scott gave us quite a lot, and he was always going to it against the Sean Dijks kind of team. And he did excellent. His movement for his goal was brilliant. But he wasn't man of the match. Like, who's going to use an algorithm to count how many passes and how many shots and they weight that all into, giving it a rating? It was Bruno or Sancho. Having Scott as a backup player in the squad is good, because that's the level he should be, and he's capable of coming in and doing a decent job in games. But United are going to be in a good place when he no longer starts for us, in my opinion.
Really?
Well, yeah, look at the option that we've got. You could have a midfield of Bruno, Eriksen, Casemiro. Where's Scott McTominay fit into that? Who does he improve?
How long has he got left on his contract?
I was going to say, do you think he'll go in the summer? Like, no interest from Newcastle, or is that just like...
It seems to be. No idea if it's real. I'd keep him, because I think he seems like he's got a pretty good attitude. I mean, he does 5Ks in about 13 minutes, which is ridiculous. So he's obviously fit. He's obviously capable of covering some ground. And so there's, if you use the right tool for the right job, sometimes there's a game where you go, we need a bit of that in this midfield today. You're going to play off the back foot against this lot today. And there's a time and a place to play him. Not every game you're going to dominate. You can't play the same way against every single team. So I'd love to have Scott McTominay as a squad player at United, but he shouldn't be starting, he should not be first choice, put it that way.
Yeah. I want to move it on to Southampton versus City real quickly. I mean, I don't know, man. I had hoped that City would drop 10 points. Honestly, like, I switched it off by the time I saw Haaland's scissor kick. I just thought, all right,
mad.
Now bedtime. What can we say about City?
You didn't think they were going to go and lose to Southampton, did you? Actually, I know Southampton. I remember last season. I don't even know if it was early this season. I got a draw of them, but not without City dominating and not being clinical. There was nothing in me that thought that City were going to lose that game.
I don't know. I'm just hoping that it's the smaller teams that hold them up.
Arsenal going into Sunday's game, and Haaland's goal, like the guy is a machine. I know we keep talking about it, and him and De Bruyne's link up, just mad. But you know what? Grealish is the one for me at the minute. Like, the form he's been in since the World Cup, and you know what? He wasn't. I liked him at Villa. I like what he has as a player. Didn't think he fitted into the Manchester City team, in my opinion. I thought he was struggling big time under Pep, and his style. I think it took a lot away from Grealish's game. But two things: how Pep's coached him into fitting into City, but also how Grealish has been able to adapt and fit himself into the team. I think it takes both sides for that to happen, and I think he's been unbelievable since the World Cup. I'm sure goals and assists, which, for his price tag, we expected, and it was a given. From the outside, people outside were like, with that price tag, he needs to be doing this, that, and the other. But he's starting to show what he's worth now. And he's a constant in that team, and I think maybe even the constant of playing, getting your rhythm, like understanding players around you, I think has really helped him for sure.
Yeah, and I just want to add as well, sometimes people talk about the goals and assists, but I noticed this before the World Cup. Sometimes his link-up play to De Bruyne, who then plays it to Haaland, is actually underrated. Like, he's doing a lot in there. He really is. And obviously, you need the stats and the goals to back it up, and he's added that. But I just think he's been such a massive, massive help this season for City, especially. I'm glad, like you said, it's like he's got the old Grealish back, where he's taken on players. Like last year, he seemed like he was trying to fit into some robot system, and it just wasn't working for him. But yeah, no, I think it's too late for him to have a shout for player of the season, but he's definitely had a fantastic season so far. What's that, Steve? I
know, he's grinning. What were you grinning?
Go on, talk to us.
You're talking about him being a potential player of the season. Have some shame, man.
No, it's too. I said it's too late, Steve. I didn't say.
Oh, it's too late. It's just wrong.
If you take for example, what he's been doing in the last 2-3 months, which I know it's an 8-month season, but you know, he's shown fantastic form. He really has, and you can't take that away from him.
Okay.
What's your thoughts then?
I think, yeah, he's playing all right, but this is £100 million signing. What was Graham Souness saying? You got to score and assist every single game if you're £100 million signing. Pretty sure that's what he said.
Yeah,
ludicrous
but that's
at the time, but these are the standards that apparently Graham Souness wants to set. The man who signed Ali Dia, that is, by the way, on the back of a phone call from.
Yeah, but these price tags are mad now. With the way that the game's gone, the price tags are mad. So it's really difficult to know he's £100 million. He's got to be doing X, Y, and Z. It's madness.
Oh, let's not start on you, Fara, with Chelsea and how many £100 million signings you've got.
I love it. I love that we spend loads of money. Keep spending. You got it, spend it, and we're still crap.
Yeah, you can't come out here talking about £100 million, whatever Graham Souness says, that's his problem. But you guys got £90 million Anthony to be worrying about over there. Do you know what I mean? So give Grealish his props when he deserves it, man. He's played well, and that's it, really.
Yeah.
All right, so don't want to talk about City too much, man. They're jarring. Spurs, I'll run the rest of it down. Like Spurs get a cheeky 2-1 win against Brighton. They got lucky there, innit, Farah?
They got lucky. Yeah, Matoma penalty shout. But the difficulty is when the referee doesn't give it in open play, unless it's absolutely clear and obvious miss, the VAR aren't going to come back to it. They're just going to allow for the on-field decision to be made, which they did. And don't get me wrong, we slow it down. He's been clipped. He's moving away from goal. There's so many things that you can look at from VAR.
Mm-hmm.
Another day that would have been a penalty. If you look back to before Christmas or before these recent weeks, VAR started to change. You know, even with some of their decision making on the field. A little bit more lenient and back to the old ways, which we all enjoy more. As I said, I don't know if there was enough in it for them VAR to even get involved, but on another day it would have been a penalty with a different VAR room.
Yeah.
It's a joke the way VAR has been implemented. It was obvious it was going to happen like this. I watch rugby league, and what happened when they introduced the video ref in rugby league is referees stopped making decisions and allowed the video ref. Like a run-of-the-mill try would just be like, well, let's go and check. Whereas if you didn't have the video, it's a try. You're not even thinking about it. Whereas referees are too scared to make decisions now. So, like you said, they're just allowing the on-field decision to make, to be the call, thinking, VAR will get it. But if it's 50-50 or it's iffy, like they're not going to overrule it when it's not blatantly obvious. What's wrong with making the decision and getting it wrong and having VAR say, no, it isn't a penalty and crack on? That was I saw Brighton fans claiming conspiracy that they say that the Premier League don't want smaller clubs involved, which is nonsense because City have won how many? Arsenal are about to win the league, according to Joel. Newcastle are inside the top 4. So that's nonsense. But I absolutely stand with them when they say that was a joke of a refereeing performance. They had multiple goals that they should have been allowed and weren't. It was a disgrace.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of action there, whether it be what we wanted to see or not. Even the manager squared up in it, which was interesting.
Oh, mate, that happened before the game. What was going on?
Before the match, I don't know.
Yeah, but what? They shook hands and it seemed all calm, and then next thing, I'm like, what's being said? Like, I just wish there was somebody translating that to me.
Yeah,
nothing, and then they get sent off.
Yeah, but I want to move it on, Farah.
Oh, we're not talking
your team. Super Frank is back. Steve, you usually call this segment "How's Your Mate?" and normally it's to Rio. And
mate,
it's still.
Laura, do you know Frank?
Sorry,
do you know Frank?
I don't know him personally. No.
All right, okay.
He sent me a really nice retirement message, which I was obviously over the moon with being a Chelsea fan and obviously watching him for many years as a Super Frank Lampard player for Chelsea. In terms of trophies he won, goals he scored, but that was him as a player. My opinion of him as a coach coming back, I don't agree with it. He hasn't worried it. I don't understand it. So, yeah, I get like, I was trying to get my head around it. I was so disappointed when I saw him at the game. I knew there was only one reason why he was at the game. He hasn't been seen in public since his sacking of Everton.
Really?
Midweek against Chelsea and Liverpool, and they zoom in on him. I'm like, what's going on here? So I started to think, nah, it can't be. And then the next day I'm hearing an interim role till the end of the season. And then I'm seeing Chelsea fans, deluded Chelsea fans, Super Frank Lampard's back, welcome home and all this nonsense. He got sacked from Chelsea for a reason. He wasn't good enough at the time. He's gone away to Everton, nearly got them relegated, right, and kept him up because their fans are mad crazy. And if he didn't, it would have been the end of him. And then he gets sacked the following season because, again, he couldn't buy a result. So to then go, I'm going to employ him because he's super Frank Lampard, and as a player, he was phenomenal for Chelsea, and his records are just out there, and we can't deny him of, he's a legendary status as a player, but not as a coach. The only thing I can think of is that they're trying to bring the fans. There's a complete disconnect. I've been to the Stamford Bridge, and there's no connection now between the fans and the club. There's just a disconnect. From when Potter took charge, the fans have lost all sorts of trust in the club. Now, I don't know if they brought him back in for that reason. Let's bring Lampard back. Let's get that love back for the club. Let's get that connection, and we'll give ourselves or buy ourselves time to make a good decision come the summer, because they made a poor decision. You sacked Tuchel for Potter. It's the worst decision in football history. So now they're thinking, okay, we need to buy ourselves time because we need to get our next manager right. Especially if the talk of we're looking for a long-term manager, that was nonsense. Potter was never going to be long-term because he was never good enough.
Aren't you talking to Mourinho as well?
Sorry? You know what?
Talking to Mourinho.
I'd take Mourinho. He's a winner. He knows how to win games. He knows how to manage big players. He is a winner, regardless of anything, regardless whether you go his style of football or whatever. It doesn't matter. No one don't remember how people...
Yeah, but look at the squad you've built. You've built a squad of potential young players that are free-flowing, attacking players. Jose's going to come in and scream at that squad.
No, he don't.
He's like, get me a 40-year-old centre-half. Let's go.
Haters, man. There's so much haters around Mourinho. What an absolute legend. He's won everything.
I love Mourinho. I don't care about...
I'll take him back tomorrow. If Mourinho wants to come back, him or Ancelotti, you're more than welcome. Tuchel, Ancelotti, Mourinho, you are more than welcome back.
How true is it from your sources, Farah, that Todd Boehly turned to James Cordon when considering hiring Frank Lampard? Is there any truth in that?
Mate, that's the first I've heard. I ain't got a clue.
What?
I want that to be true with every fibre of my being.
Oh, he listens to fans on Twitter Spaces. You never know.
That sums up where the club are, and the whole joke around him even taking charge of the club. You can spend
Someone get me James Cordon. We need a new gaffer.
Mate, I can't even. I can't. I mean, I was trying, even Olivia was she was trying to convince me that this is a good move. I don't know how he takes this team against Real Madrid on tomorrow. I don't know how he takes it. I don't know what he does with it. Heard his interview after Wolves that we can't be deflated from that game, can't get too low. Bloody hell, going away to Wolves and losing the way we did.
Yeah, it weren't nice, was it?
Yeah, when that Champions League...
Don't get me wrong, that goal was a bad man goal. But flipping no, we shouldn't be losing.
Yeah,
we shouldn't be.
It's sad.
The whole hype should have been a whole when they say another manager comes in, a little bit of fresh. And
manager bounce.
Look at Roy Hodgson. He didn't have that. He had that effect on us. Roy Hodgson, what's that now? He scored 5 yesterday. Was it 2 in the first game? 7 in 2. Remember when Roy couldn't score a goal a game?
Slapping up Leeds, away. I couldn't believe it.
No, when Leeds lose, they can lose heavy.
I know, but at home, that was rough, man. That was rough.
That was a big defeat.
I'm gonna run through the rest of the results as we're coming to the end of this week's episode of Vibe 5. Villa beating Nottingham Forest 2-0. Go on, Steve. Say what you're gonna say.
They're fifth, no? Emery's done a job there.
It's amazing what a good manager can do in it. How's Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard not just being talked about getting jobs after the absolute massacring that they did on their clubs? They should be taken to court for negligence, the way that they managed both of their clubs. It was horrendous.
Every week, Farah, it's the same. He doesn't miss it.
Right, but am I wrong? Emery come in and was like, all right, let me roll my sleeves up. Has no one won more points apart from
he's done unbelievable. That's what I'm saying. He's done he's come in. Even when you hear Leon Bailey, when he, I don't know if you heard his TalkSport interview. I'm when he talks about the coaching that Emery done when he went in, it sounds unbelievable, and it sounds like every player knows their role within that whole squad. And it sounded like under Gerrard they didn't.
Yeah, because look at the way Gerrard played. He was a passion merchant that just played for himself. He didn't have the idea of a concept of a team. He was just a guy that ran around and Royal the Rovers did. There was no sort of concept. It's no surprise to me whatsoever that Michael Carrick looks like the greatest manager the world's ever seen in the Championship. Absolutely rising it up. Congratulations on Manager of the Month. And you got Steven Gerrard out here just nearly relegating fuckers. You know what I mean?
Is that a United Liverpool thing?
No, that's Steven Gerrard is just some reason just loved by the media. How do you end up in the Premier League Hall of Fame? Guy's not even seen a trophy.
Oh, come on.
How was he a first round Hall of Fame pick?
Well, I don't agree with the rounds, but he
Scandalous.
deserves to be there. I don't agree with the rounds, but he deserves to be there.
No, he doesn't deserve to be there. That's ridiculous. Every single person who's won the trophy deserves to be in before him.
Yeah, and I said I don't agree with the rounds, but as a Hall of Famer, he deserves to be in there. I don't care if it's
first round pick.
Yeah, I don't agree with the round, but he deserves to be there.
Why does he deserve to be there?
Brentford 1, Newcastle 2. Now, yeah, you know, Ivan Toney misses a penalty. Gets one back in, but Newcastle looking like a problem. Isak doing bits. Callum Wilson showing me that, you know what, he's a better player than I thought he was. And yeah, man, just massive respect to Newcastle, man. They're doing their thing.
Who would have thought, just on that, who would have thought that Eddie Howe, would go into Newcastle and literally turn them around into a relegation team without any big signings, really? Without any real big signings, and make them the team that they've been this season. That shows a sign of a good coach. That's a coach that's gone in there and actually coached a team, a philosophy and a style that suits the players that they have, and they've gone on. And this season, I mean, at the beginning of the season, I thought it's a bit of luck. They're going to crumble. They ain't crumbled. It's funny because
I spoke to Amanda Staveley at an event. Her and her husband, fantastic people. Like, we had a massive time, and she said she was open. She said, "Look, man, we were looking at Arteta. You know, we really were. We think he's a great coach." But then she goes, "Yeah, but you know, we chose Eddie," and she just said he's been absolutely fantastic. But I wonder, Farah, you'd let me know, was his tactic more like, "All right, look, man, they want to get us all out here for bigger fish. Let's all galvanize together and make sure that we show them we deserve to be here"? Do you reckon it was one of them? Because they all seem like they're playing on side, and I thought he was going to be gone by, do you know what I mean? Like 6 months later. So,
you know what? I think they look together, don't they? I think that, you know what? The best team I played in was when I was at Liverpool, and it was like a new team. They were supposed to have got relegated. The expectation was really low, and all of a sudden you come together as one, and it's like we're going to fight for each other. And you have a couple of leaders in that you really listen to. And I can see, if you look at Joe Linton, he looks like he's a leader. Trippier, I think that was a huge signing. I know people said, "Oh, he's gone for money, this, that," and all that nonsense. I think he's massively respected by the players, and I think he shows great leadership. And also, it wouldn't surprise me if what he learned under Simeone at Atletico, in terms of, you know, Atletico being hard to beat, a defensively organised team that will nick results, that kind of mentality, that he would have said to Eddie Howe, "Look, this is how we won at Atletico. This is why we was as good as what we were." And kind of making, because look at that back four, back five, and that back five, they don't change it. They haven't changed that back five.
He said it on Vibe with 5. He said that he had acquired like certain knowledge and skills from Simeone anyway. So I think you're 100% right. That experience comes into the team. But I'm trying to run it through anyway. You got Fulham 0, West Ham 1. David Moyes just seems to, I don't know how he still got a job, man. Like, obviously I like Moyes in general, but I thought he was done, but it looks like he's still in the job. Leicester 0, Bournemouth 1, and again we've already discussed Leeds versus Crystal Palace. Wow, exciting football. I don't know what to say really. There's a few games.
Finalissima on was it Friday night?
Thursday.
Thursday night. Yeah. How big of a deal do you reckon that is? Do you think it's a good idea to have that, like Euros and is it Copa America? It's not.
Copa America. Yeah. I think it's something different, isn't it, for the women's game? They have it in the men's, and we've seen it with Argentina and Italy. So I think that it's nice that they're recognising that they could do that also with the women. It's an added game, something else to play for. I thought it was I don't know if you lot watched it at Wembley, 83,000. So there's obviously a want in terms of the fans wanting to be there. Because ticket prices weren't cheap. I think tickets about £50. I mean, my tickets were like £50. There was tickets of £100, so they weren't cheap tickets. So fans are wanting to pay to go and watch the Lionesses play. And I don't know. I thought the game itself was a great game, a game of two halves. I know it's very cliche, but England dominated the first. Brazil changed the style of play in the second, literally dominated, and the Lionesses was hanging in there, and it goes to penalties. So it was a great spectacle.
Man. I see Richarlison was there as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Supporting.
He said they'd take to a barbecue for them if they'd have won it back in Brazil. I was like, it's a bit far. I could have kept them there at Tottenham.
Guys. Well, listen, that's it for this week's episode of Vibe with Five. Fara, I want to say thank you so much for stepping up. You don't big yourself up enough. Please, can you let them know about your podcast?
Yeah, boots, balls, and bras. We listen out and we put it out on a Tuesday, 5 p.m. Get listening, sign up, subscribe, whatever it is. Apple, Spotify, Instagram. You can get the link off. Boots, balls, bras. Get following, please, guys.
Make sure you check it out. And also make sure you follow her. Her socials are in the description, myself and Steve's as well. And yeah, we got content coming out this week. Obviously, this is the last leg of the season. So we've got all types of fantastic videos coming out. So please make sure you stay tuned and keep supporting us, man. We're trying to be here, rain, sleet, or snow. Steve, have a good one, mate. Sarah, see you guys soon.
Yeah, guys. See you. Thanks.
Out.